No, I'm not okay. I had this midterm in a few hours and I don't even know what I'm doing. And I don't know.
And you made all these flashcards by hand.
Well, what else was I gonna do?
You could have used Memora.
What's Memora?
Memora is an awesome website that allows you to take your already existing notes and turn it into helpful study material.
Could have used that so much earlier.
Yeah, here, let me show you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Ramos. I'm joined by my teammates Arkan Singh, Victoria Young, and Jacob Anderson. We are the developers of Memora, a website that makes studying easy. As a student, creating study materials like flashcards and quizzes can be time-consuming, and the results are not always, well, successful. As a teacher, our goal is to help students learn, and sometimes it is difficult to pinpoint what topics students are struggling to understand. We developed a solution to this problem, introducing Memora. Memora is an online learning platform that provides personalized study tools, AI-driven tutoring, and creates a collaborative classroom environment for students and teachers. Now that we've introduced our website, here's a demo of how you can use Memora to revolutionize the way you study. We'll get started by navigating to memora.study. From here, we can go ahead and create a new account or log into an existing account. Since I already have an account, we'll go ahead and log in really quick. Awesome. Now that we've logged in, I'll take it to Victoria to show you how to use Memora.
Let's see how Rumi would create a deck of flashcards to study for a test coming up. For this example, we will just be showing you how to do that by uploading a page of handwritten notes. So let's go over to the notes page, and as you can see, there are previous notes that are in here already, but we'll upload a new one, and they'll just click this button over here and then choose the upload from a file option, and this specific set is about nutrition, so I'll just title it as that. And to create the flashcard, I'll just go over to my dashboard and then click the Create Flashcard button. And once the deck is generated, the user has the ability to edit it if they don't like it, but this looks good, so I'll just save it. There are a few ways that the user can study the deck. The user can either use a carousel on the side and then toggle the Show Answers button just to hide the answers from them and study it that way. Or they can flip through it like they would a regular deck and restart if they'd like. Another way that they can study for the set is by taking a quiz from it as well. And I'll just take the quiz really quick right now. And then we'll see that I got a 6 out of 7, so not too bad. But let's say I want to retake it multiple times. I can track my progress for this set exactly by going over to the analytics page and see how I've been doing so far. So on this page, you'll get an overview of your performance for all of the quizzes you've taken, but for this specific one, I'll just click on the nutrition quiz. And on this specific page, I can get an overview of what categories I'm kind of struggling in, so we can see that I'm struggling in science. And as for the questions detail, I can see what questions I got wrong and what questions I got right. But let's say I also want to be able to study in a way that's a little bit less predictable, since the questions from the cards kind of match the answers. I can regenerate a different quiz using the exact same notes with the help of our AI tutor. And we can see from our analytics, I didn't do as well as I did on the previous quiz, and so I should probably study some more on this topic.
If Rumi is struggling to understand a quiz, she can go to the AI tutor and select the quiz she's struggling on. So in this case, it's the biology nutrition quiz, and she can ask the tutor to explain a specific question. So here she can say, "Can you explain question 1?" And she might have either guessed or gotten that question wrong. And the AI tutor will give a detailed response highlighting the question, as well as a detailed explanation regarding the correct answer. If Rumi is still confused after the AI tutor, she has another option. She can go to the Friends page on Memora and send a friend request to any other user on Memora, whether that be a student or a teacher. Here, she has a friend Zoe in the same class, so she sends her a friend request, and Zoe accepts. So in the notifications, you can see that pop up, and now Rumi can message Zoe directly. Here, Rumi can type in her question, so In this case, she was confused on question 1, and she'll be able to see a real-time indicator of when Zoe is online and when she's typing, and Zoe will be able to help her out.
So let's say Dr. Bobby wants to look at how his students have been doing on the practice quizzes. He can go in manually and look at each individual quiz and the student's performance, but that can be super time consuming. So instead, he can just go to our AI teaching assistant and ask those questions. So let's say he asks, how are students doing on the microbiome practice quiz? He can then send this off, and the teaching assistant will start looking into that. So while we wait for this to load, let's look at behind the scenes what's actually happening. What our teaching assistant is doing is it's looking at all the quizzes it has access to, thinking about what it should look into, thinking about which quizzes apply here, so that way the teacher doesn't manually select certain quizzes and whatnot. It can then go in and look at each individual quiz. It can see the average score, a bunch of metadata, and then each individual submission. It then adds insights that it sees when it's looking at all these quizzes, and then it finally submits a final response to the teacher. So we can see that final response has come through. We can see that metadata we talked about for the quizzes that the teacher is asking, the insights that it identified, recommendations it's making for how the teacher can address the issues, and then kind of some key insights. On this diagram, you can see the architecture and technology we used to build this project. On the front end, we used React and CSS for the styling and display. We then used the REST API to connect to Supabase and Google Auth. This allows people to either create their own accounts manually or use their Google accounts. We then have the backend, which is built on Django, and again, as we mentioned, Supabase. This is all hosted on Docker and AWS. And then for all of our file processing, taking a picture of notes and uploading that, we use Amazon Recognition. We then go back to our agent server. So this uses the OpenAI API using AI SDK to allow actual tool calls, and then Zod objects so we can have type safety even with AI projects. And then all of this is tracked in Brain Trust, which is our agent observability infrastructure. So to kind of walk you through how this would all work, let's say that you are uploading a quiz notes to build a quiz using AI. You'd go to the front end, it would be built in React, you'd upload your notes, it would be sent back to our backend, which then sends it to the Supabase server and sends it also at the same time to this agent server. The LLM agent will then start sending back and forth tool calls to OpenAI, building, sending the topics, sending each individual quiz question, and then all of this is tracked in Brain Trust. You can see each individual tool call and then sent back to the backend as when the quiz is finished. That quiz is saved again to the Supabase server and then sent to the front end to be displayed. One of the best tools to take advantage of is Brain Trust. This is our AI observability infrastructure, as I mentioned, and you can kind of see here how it's actually used. So if you open up one of these logs, you can see that we were building a quiz. It identifies the topics, and we can go through and look at every individual tool call that the agent actually did. So you can look at each individual question, the explanation, all this. This is great on its own because we have all this metadata, and we can kind of actually, it's not a black box anymore. We can actually see how it's working. But one of the best parts is that we have these tests that run after the fact. So LLMs are obviously kind of finicky, and it's hard to identify when things go wrong. But Brain Trust allows us to upload these tests. So it could be things like making sure that there's no uncovered topics. So of the topics identified, does it actually build a question for every individual topic? Another interesting part is that we have a test that looks at if there's a crazy option. So, you might build a quiz question and you have the 4 options and one of them just doesn't make sense. And in this one, it actually caught it and it says, oh, hey, I can see that there was kind of a crazy option here because you asked what were the 2 major political factions in Rome at the time, and one of them is the Republicans and Democrats. And any student will be able to see that and say, oh, that's probably not correct. And so you can actually have this agent look at our other agent and make sure that it's passing all these different criteria. And so we actually built over 20 different tests that run on every single log that happen in Memora.
Thank you so much for learning more about Memora. We hope that you enjoyed seeing what our website can do, and we'd like to thank our capstone professors, particularly Professor David Bean, and our TAs for their guidance while developing Memora. We hope that you all enjoyed our presentation, and we hope that you will choose to study smarter, faster, and together with Memora.